Sometimes I think people don't realize that if you have to witness someone else's rage, you're actually involved in their rage and you're still getting the brunt of their rage. If you even have to listen to it. This is Sarah. This is Before the Edit. Welcome home. Rage is something I can speak to because I have a lot of experience with it. I heard a lot of it growing up, and I have also experienced it myself. And I've been in relationships with people who have a lot of rage or had a lot of rage. And you don't have to listen to it. You can make a different choice. So I live in a building where there are other people living in the building, and there's a couple here. And I'm not sure exactly where they live, but I can hear him raging at her. And it's like full-blown anger, rage. I can hear like maybe a chair being tossed aside, those types of things. And I think to myself, oh, I wish that woman would somehow get to know me so that I could tell her to get her ass out of there. Anyway, she might listen, she might not. Stuff like that doesn't get better. It just keeps getting worse. And what is a monthly thing turns into a weekend thing until it's like every day or every other day. I know that sometimes people will say, "Oh, I'm not mad at you, I'm mad at them," while they're raging at you about them. That's abuse, and you don't have to put up with it. What people don't realize is that living around rage changes you. Not just emotionally, but physically, mentally, nervously. Your body starts organizing itself around that other person's reactions. You start paying attention to tone changes and footsteps, facial expressions, maybe the sound of the cupboards closing or the way that a key goes into the door. You become hyper aware because your nervous system is trying to predict impact before it happens. And after a while, you don't even realize you're doing it. It just becomes who you are. Walking on eggshells stops feeling strange and starts feeling normal. You start shaping yourself around someone else's temper so that you can finally relax, so that the house can stay peaceful, or so the evening won't get ruined, or that you won't have to feel that fear in your body again. Your whole life slowly starts organizing itself around managing the emotional atmosphere. And because I experienced a lot of rage in childhood, it also felt strangely familiar to me. Even comfortable in some weird magnetic way. Not comfortable as in enjoyable, but comfortable as in known, like this is something I know how to navigate. I know how to calm people. I know how to manage emotional storms. I know how to tame the beast. And honestly, looking back now, I think part of me believed that if I could just love correctly enough, understand enough, say the right thing enough, be calm enough, then maybe this time I could finally create safety where I never really could before. But the truth is, I was never actually able to tame the beast. Not in childhood, not in adulthood. And I think sometimes people who grow up around rage become very skilled at managing other people's emotional states while being disconnected from their own. Because you become so focused on what are they feeling? What mood are they in? How do I keep this from escalating? That you stop asking, what is this doing to me? I know this because I've lived it. And even though it was hugely traumatic, mentally, emotionally, financially, I managed to pick myself up and move on. It's ancient history now. And it was the last damn time I ever allowed someone with a rage problem to be close to me. At first, I raged back. Against the machine, really. I fought it. I yelled back. And I did that until it got physical. And once that line gets crossed, something changes. Because suddenly your body understands this is no longer just emotional volatility. This can become danger. And then after that, I think something in me shifted from fighting into managing. Trying to keep the peace or to prevent escalation. Trying to read moods early enough to stop the explosion before it happened. And I changed who I was so somebody else wouldn't get mad. I became quieter, more careful, more watchful, and I monitored moods constantly. And one night, I remember sleeping fully clothed with my purse and my car keys hidden under the bed while he slept downstairs. And when I look back at that now, I think, my body knew I didn't feel safe long before my mind fully admitted it, but I stayed. And honestly, I think part of why I stayed was because my finances were tied up in the house. I didn't feel like I had somewhere to go. I didn't want to be an abused woman. And I didn't want that to be true about my life. And I kept it secret from my family because they never liked him in the first place. There's a kind of shame in that. Not just in what's happening, but in knowing that the people around you probably saw pieces of it before you were ready to see it yourself. And one night after a really terrible rage encounter, I left. I did leave. I ended up at a friend's house feeling like a homeless little mouse. And that's honestly the only way I can describe it. I was completely torn up trying to figure out, what do I do now? Where would I even go? How would I get my things back? How had my life gotten to this point? I was really in love with this person, or thought I was. And I remember sitting there in that state while my friend had someone over visiting, a complete stranger to me. And this person listened for a while and then said something so simple that I've never forgotten. They said, I think the main thing is you just need to get out of there and things will fall into place. And I remember something in me relaxing when they said that. Because when you're inside of an environment like that, your brain gets overwhelmed trying to solve the entire future before you make a move. Like, where will I live? How will I afford it? What if I regret it? What if they change? What about the house? What about the money? Everything feels impossible, but sometimes the first step is simply get yourself out of the environment that is harming you. Because it's very hard to think clearly while your nervous system is in survival mode. And I think that stranger understood something important. You don't have to have the entire rest of your life figured out before you decide you deserve peace. And eventually I ended up staying in one of my mom's gutted apartments. There were wires hanging from the ceiling and no insulation, no plumbing, nothing. Just 4 walls and a little piss-stained cot and a radio. And my mom lived next door, and she couldn't understand why I wanted to stay over there instead of in her apartment, but she let me. And later on, she said something to me that I've never forgotten. She said, "I knew it must have been really bad where you were, because when I came over to see you, you looked so happy in that apartment with nothing in it." And she was right, because peace feels different in the body. Even though objectively I had almost nothing there, my nervous system finally had somewhere to exhale. No monitoring, no bracing, no emotional weather to track, just quiet. And I think that moment taught me something really important. Human beings need safety more than they need appearances. Because from the outside, the apartment probably looked terrible. But to me, it felt peaceful. And I did fix it up later. Sometimes people don't realize how much an environment has been harming them until the day they finally experience one that isn't. And one more thing I want to say. A lot of people who live around rage minimize what it's doing to them because nobody hit them, or because the person is only yelling, or because afterward they apologize, or because there are also good moments. But if your nervous system has to constantly brace itself around another person's explosion, that changes you. Some people become hypervigilant or numb or experts at reading emotional weather. And other people disconnect from themselves entirely because feeling becomes too exhausting. And sometimes years later, people still don't understand why they can't fully relax, why calm feels unfamiliar, why peace feels temporary, or why their body still braces for impact, even in quiet moments. Living around rage changes people. And if this is something you've experienced, I think one of the most healing things in the world is finally being in spaces where your nervous system no longer has to prepare for impact, where silence is safe, where someone else's emotions are not constantly flooding the room, where you can exhale without waiting for something to happen. A lot of people don't realize how exhausted they are until they finally experience peace. My information is at sarahsenergetics.com. This is Sarah. This is Before the Edit.